iti vidito gaudiya gurvan vaye pato panuriva prabhata gagane yoga sankirtana mayavada timingilo darakatan udricha jivaniman sakam prada prabhum tang bhaje Gaura Kishoraya Bhaktavaduta Murtaye Gaurangri Padma Bringaya Radha Bhavani Shevine Vande Bhakti Vinodam Shri Gaura Shakti Swarupakam Bhakti Shastragya Samraja Radha Rasa Sudanidim Gaura Braja Shuta Sheshe Vaishnava Vanja Vigraham Jagannath Prabhu Vande Premabdim Vritta Vaishnavam Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So I wanted to repeat that. Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. Goswami disappearance day today. And so many beautiful talks are on the website. Really, really exalted talks, beautiful and wonderful, and telling us and helping us to remember that Srila Rupa Goswami is our supreme guru, and all of the gurus in this line from Mahaprabhu are all followers of Rupa Goswami. He was established as the supreme guru, and at the same time so gentle, so shy, meek, and so exalted, and showing all these incredible qualities. And today probably we will chant Sri Rupa Manjari Padal, the supreme song of our Sampradaya. And as we know, Srila Saraswati Thakur, when he was closing his pastimes in this world, he requested that Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and only Srila Sridhar Maharaj, will sing this song. And the devotees present, the really powerful followers of Srila Saraswati Thakur, they all acknowledged that they felt a transmission of the line from the heart of Srila Saraswati Thakur to the heart of Guru Maharaj by making this request. As he was making this request, and as Guru Maharaj began to sing, but he was hesitant because he's not got a good singing voice, which is very instructive to us, is the quality. And another good singer was requested to sing the song because Guru Maharaj was momentarily feeling shy about that. But Saraswati Thakur very strongly objected. No, I don't want to hear the tune. Only Sridhar Maharaj can sing this song. So, in the remembrance of Guru Maharaj, we will probably sing this song as part of the program. And then there's a really very nice commentary on this song, not very long either, by Srila Guru Maharaj that was posted on the website today that we could probably read. Really beautiful commentary. Anyway, Jai.
All right. Well, let's read it now.
Read it?
The commentary, yeah.
Should we read it? Okay.
Oh wait, Guru Maharaj's commentary on it's in the songbook. That's the translation. Oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Should we sing that now?
I don't know. I mean, we can do our remembrance of Srila Rupa Goswami. It's a little bit of a quiet Wednesday, I can say that. Anyways, ultimately we hope to be serving them. That's everything's an offering. So today is the disappearance day of Srila Rupa Goswami.
I can't actually hear him.
I probably need to be closer. Is that better? You have a strong sound right there also. Did you already sing kirtan? Okay, why don't we sing a kirtan and then we'll discuss Srila Rupa Goswami and then maybe last week we read chapter 7, but there were so many questions about chapter 7. I think we got through like 6 verses.
Can we sing Shri
No.
Okay.
We can sing Shri Guru Charana Padma and then, or another song about Guru.
What are we singing first?
Any song about Guru. Then we can sing.
Maybe Thakur Vaishnava Pada?
Okay, what page is that?
That's 156. And right after that is Jayanula, Premadana.
Okay.
Thakur Vaishnava Padam Avanira Sushampada
Guru Vaishnava Pada Avanira Susampada
Suno Bhai Hoya Ekamana O Ashtoya Loya Bhaje Tare Krishna Nahi Tyaje Hara Shaba Moreya Korana O Vaishnava Charana Jo Prema Bhakti Dite Bo Ara ke ho nahi balavanta O Vaishnava Charana Renu Mastake Bhushana Vinu Ara nahi bhushane rayanta O tirtha jal pavitra guni likhiyache purane Shesha Baba Kira Pravanchana O Vaishnavera Pada Doksha Manahi Esha Jata Hoye Vanchita Purana He Vaishnava Sange Teman Anandita Yalutan Sadavai Krishna Parasanga O Dina Narotama Kadehiya Dajanahi Bande Mura dosha ke na hoilo banga O dina narotama Mora dosha kena hoilo banga. Oh hey Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, oh hey Vaishnava Thakur. Oh hey Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, oh hey Vaishnava Thakur. Oh Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Oh Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Oh, brother, hear my words with rapt attention. The lotus feet of the Vaishnavas are the most valuable treasure in the world. Take shelter of those Vaishnavas and worship them. Krishna cannot abandon one who worships him in this way. All others meet a meaningless death.
The water which has washed the lotus feet of the Vaishnava.
Turn it on.
Oh. So it turns off after like 10 minutes.
Because it was on the floor. Yeah.
The water which has washed the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas bestows devotional service in pure love of Godhead. There is nothing as effective in attaining this divine love. I place the dust from the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas upon my head, and I wear no other ornament.
The purifying power of the waters of the various places of pilgrimage is described in the Puranas, although this is something of a deceptive trick. Actually, there is nothing which is as purifying as the water which has washed the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas. This water fulfills all desires.
Moment by moment, my mind finds constant pleasure in the association of the Vaishnavas. I always seek the company of the devotees of Lord Krishna. Poor-hearted Narottam Das cries, I cannot maintain my composure. Why have I fallen into such a condition of life that I cannot get the association of Vaishnavas? Scary. Hare Krishna. And? Viraha Gita, yeah, for sure.
Vaishnava Charana Jal, Deva Bhakti Deva.
Jayani Lope, Jayani Lope Madana, Karuna Prachur. Hena Prabhu Kota Gela Acha Jataku.
Ahana Prabhu Kotha Galo
Acha Jataku. Kahamora Swarup Rupa Kahasanata. Raghunatha Patita Pava
Kahadasa Raghunatha Patita
Kahamora Bata Juga Kaha Kavira Asande kutiba mata anale pasiba Gauranga gunera nidhi kotakele pabo Sheshaba Shangira Shange Che Koilo Bila Sheshangana Paya Kande Narotamada The song in separation, sung by Narottam Das Thakur in separation from all of these great parsad, the great eternal associates of Mahaprabhu. That personality who delivered the treasure of Prema Bhakti, who was so intense with compassion. Where is such a personality to be found as Sri Acharya Thakur Srinivasa Acharya?
Where are the saviors of the fallen souls? Where's my Svarup Damodar? Where are Rupa Goswami and Sri Sanatan Goswami? Where is Raghunath Das to be found?
Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta Goswamis? Where am I to find Sri Krishna Das Kaviraj now? All at once they have gone to join Lord Gauranga, the great dancer.
To reach such a perfect personality as Lord Chaitanya, I can only break my head against the stone in the anguish of separation.
They have all gone off together in their own pastimes. Narottam Das Thakur says, unable to obtain their association, I must simply weep. Haribol. So Guru Maharaj said that externally, the fire of separation is like the bite of a cobra. But internally there is such a sweetness, such a sweet feeling. So these are very difficult things for us to conceive of. And then Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, what page is that? 206. Page 206. Hey, Sudan? Disappearance day.
No, it's Rupa Goswami.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear you. So this is 206, can you see?
We all know this, but I think sometimes to familiarize ourselves with this song a little bit before we sing it. This song is very rarely sung, yet it's the song of the heart of the teachers in our line. And, you know, we may or may not have some heart feeling for it because, you know, we're just kind of singing Bengali. But it's Sri Rupa Manjari Pada this song was written by Narottam Das Thakur. And it's about Rupa Manjari, meaning the form of Srila Rupa Goswami in the divine pastimes, as a servant of the play of Radha Krishna. This song we sing maybe 5 or 6 times per year. And the reason why it's sung so rarely is because we want to maintain a special reverence for this song, that we don't take it cheaply, that it's always sung Dandavat Ananya. but it's also always sung with a feeling of, proper respect and proper care. Because what's expressed in that song is taking us to a very high place that we may not even have the development to appreciate. I'll give a brief biography of Srila Rupa Goswami so we can understand how his pastimes sort of manifested in this world and his significance in the line of Mahaprabhu and ultimately also Narottam Das Thakur, who wrote this song, and his appreciation for that. Srila Rupa Goswami was born in a family in one village, but the family ended up moving to a Brahmin village. The lineage of Rupa Goswami's family, his brother is Sanatana Goswami, his other brother is called Anupama. Their lineage is from a long line of Vaishnavas. At some time, maybe ending in around 900 or 1000 AD, all of Bengal was run by Vaishnava kings that originated in South India. And the Rupa Goswami's family is originally from I think they're said to be from Karnataka, but been in Bengal for many hundreds of years. And they lived in a Brahmin village called Ramkeli. At that time, this is the late 1400s. So remember, Columbus is like, a few travelers have figured out how to go down the coast of Africa, around Africa, and up, and actually found India, the place that everyone was searching for. And of course, Columbus is like, well, why don't we just go the straight way? I mean, we got to be able to get there if we go, if we go west far enough. So in the late 1400s, Columbus is there, but some Portuguese travelers have already been to this place where they're serving, which is called Goda. At that time, that Vaishnava kingdom had been overtaken by Muslim invaders, and the sultan there was from the Delhi Sultanate, and ultimately he created a kingdom in Goda that became extremely wealthy. And at that time, that kingdom was said to be the 5th biggest city in the world at that time, with more than 200,000 inhabitants, and was known as the place to trade all over Asia. So there were boats going up the Ganga all the way up to Goda. And Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, they're born in Brahmin families, but they took a service. Hi, Maya. We're just discussing a special day today. It's the disappearance day of Rupa Goswami, who's, you could say, the head of our line of teachers. Like, this is from maybe 500 years ago. I find this historical context very helpful for me. But when Rupa and his brother Sanatan were mathematical geniuses, and ultimately they were employed by the Sultan to run his treasury. And when they are employed by the Sultan, they were given Islamic titles, which made them untouchable in polite Hindu society, like literally untouchable. Like, if you touch them, you had to go take a bath in a sacred river, even though they're from these high Brahmin families. But because they did that work for a Muslim sultanate, then, and this is very instructive for us, because remember, Mahaprabhu is breaking these false barriers of culture and superficiality. So they were employed and became very fabulously wealthy because they were employed by one of the richest people in the world at that time, if not the richest, the Sultan of Goda. And as I said, Portuguese travelers had been there and described the city in great detail and in this sort of awestruck way. So Mahaprabhu, at this time in the late 1400s, is beginning his pastime. He's going out of Navadvip and going to Vrindavan and traveling up the Ganga for some time, because the Ganga goes north in Bengal and then ultimately goes west. And that route of walking from Bengal to northern India was like the way to do it, so everyone walked. So as he's walking north, he's on the other side of the Ganga from Goda. And Rupa and Sanatan came to see him, drawn by their hearts. And they had been corresponding with Mahaprabhu before, simply because they heard of his pastimes as Nimai Pandit, the greatest Pandit of the area. And suddenly he goes mad and leaves everything and starts worshiping, Radha and Krishna. So they were in some correspondence with him, but then they crossed the river and met with him. And at that time they they were so taken and drawn by Mahaprabhu that they offered to leave everything and immediately, enter into his service. And Mahaprabhu told them no. He said, you go back and you do your job perfectly, and I will call you at the right time. Which is a very interesting instruction. So they did that. They did their job very perfectly. And later Mahaprabhu did call them, and they left their job and also walked. Sanatana Goswami actually was caught by the Sultan and imprisoned in a dungeon. And he actually paid his way out some bribe money to the guards, like an insane amount of gold coins, and was able to get out of jail and walk. But Mahaprabhu is said to have given all of his internal wealth. He recognized he gave it to Rupa Goswami, and he said so out loud. And he tasked Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, along with their brother Anupama, to go to Vrindavan and to meditate upon the pastimes of the Lord and unearth the places of those pastimes. And so, remember, they're fabulously wealthy, world-class wealthy at that time, as wealthy as you could possibly be. And then they went to Vrindavan and lived in the woods, not even under a shelter. They lived under a tree. And following the path of renunciation of that time, it was considered to have a form of attachment to sleep under the same tree. So you would go sleep under a different tree every night. That type of renunciation. And they began to write the conclusions of Mahaprabhu on palm leaves. And those books ultimately became Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Ujjvala Nirlamani, so many very fine books on the topics of bhakti. And from there, the potency of their prayer and their sadhana and their life, actually, people began to be drawn to Vrindavan. And later they were joined by Anupama's son, who was Jiva Goswami. And Jiva went there to live with Rupa and Sanatan. So Rupa and Sanatan went to Vrindavan in 1517. Is when they were, that's the guess, but the guess is they went there in 1517. And our whole line came from that. And now if you go to Vrindavan, literally any religious line in India now has a temple in Vrindavan. But it was woods. There was nothing there. No people, no nothing.
Van means forest.
Vrindavana. Vana means forest. Yeah.
And so even in like the 80s, where we have old photos when I was a baby, it's mostly forest with like these sandy paths by the Jamuna. And now it's completely built like almost to the inch, where like some of the special forests are like enclosed so that the monkeys don't eat everything.
A few hundred yards, yeah.
And I don't know what the guess is, but it's like thousands upon thousands of temples with millions of pilgrims coming per year.
Yeah,
and in certain times of year, coming up Kartik, the pilgrims are starting at like 4 a.m. and walking through the streets with kirtan in groups of thousands. Like there's multiple kirtan groups, right, that are coming through. It's literally, it's almost inconceivable actually how significant Rupa Goswami is. And I would say like maybe a significant portion of those temples maybe doesn't even know the significance of Rupa Goswami, right? Because hundreds of years are passing and things become lost with time. So the significance of this cannot be kind of like washed over. It's so powerful and it's so shocking these temples.
So our line is called Rupanuga, means we're the followers of Rupa Goswami. And actually, very amazingly, there's a temple right next to Rupa Goswami's Samadhi Mandir. Samadhi Mandir means where his body was interned. A great devotee, their body is considered to be spiritual substance because they live their life purely as an offering to the Lord. This body is a temple. So while most people are cremated, great devotees enter what's called Samadhi, and their body's interned. And where his Samadhi is in Vrindavan, Gurudev, this is just another amazing story. There's a piece of land available right next to that temple. There's a big temple there, some amazing deities. But right next to that temple, there's a piece of land available. And one day in Navadvip, where Navadvip is like, it's hard to imagine back in the day, but like, the electricity would come on like 2 or 3 hours a day. Like, the light bulbs would be like bright, dark, bright, like super, like unreliable current. And the phone was totally unreliable. So Gurudev's sitting in his chair on his veranda, kind of overlooking the Mat, and he picks the phone up. Just picks the phone up, no ring, no anything. And the guy on the other line is the owner of that land that's right next to Rupa Goswami's Samadhi. And he says, I want to give this land to you. It's across the street from Krishnadas Kaviraj, who wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita. His Samadhi Mandir is there. I mean, like unbelievable piece of land. And Gurudev picks the phone up, and the guy on the other line is like, I want to give this land to you. So we have a temple there in that amazing area of Vrindavan. And, what can we say? So much comes from Rupa Goswami. His deities, Radha Govindaji, when Rupa Goswami established those deities, and there's so many stories. They're living in the woods. The Jamuna's a trading route where barges are coming through full of goods, coming ultimately from the Ganga. Like these trading systems, the roads are terrible, and the rivers are the main avenues of trade. And, different merchants are with these different pastimes have like noticed that these great saints are there, and then ultimately this huge, like enormous temple was built for Radha Govindaji, Rupa Goswami's deities. And later the emperor that was the Muslim emperor that was in Delhi at the time became very like disturbed because he could see from Delhi the pot of ghee that was burning 24 hours a day on the top of this huge temple. And he sent his soldiers to knock that temple down, and they did. So all you can see now in Vrindavan is this massive temple just kind of cut off about 60 feet up, this massive base of red stone. But those deities went to Jaipur, which was a warrior kingdom, and you can still visit those deities today. But that was the first time that the divine feminine, the potency of the Lord, was worshipped in the same altar as the Lord. And that was very controversial in India at that time. So many other stories happened hundreds of years later as that controversy got worked out. But Rupa Goswami is like presenting truth, and all from this place where he's not an official part of Hindu society, because he was working for the Muslim governor. So like just so many stages of revolution, breaking apart form and emphasizing substance. So at the time when Rupa and Sanatan first came to Vrindavan, Narottam Das was born, who wrote this song. He was born in 1520, so they went there in 1517, right? So by the time he's old enough, he's born in the family of a prince. And by the time he's old enough, he always wants to go to Vrindavan. Finally, he goes to Vrindavan, and they passed. So, that song we just sang that she wrote, that Mataji just sang, that song of separation, like, oh, I miss them. How can I live? I didn't meet Saurav Damodar. I didn't meet Narottam. I didn't meet Rupa Goswami. I didn't meet Sanatan. I missed it. Like this feeling of pain on the day of that remembrance. But he dedicated his life to serving and preaching the teachings of Rupa Goswami. And he became a huge preacher. He preached to the king of Manipur. He was said to have over 500,000 disciples. And really the whole eastern part of India has some understanding of Mahaprabhu in a pure way because of Narottam Das Thakur. So anyways, these wonderful things, these wonderful personalities. Today is the disappearance of Rupa Goswami, and we will sing this song today with appropriate, reverence and care in our heart. Shri Rupa Manjari Pada Sai Mora Sampada Shri Rupa Manjari Pada Sai Mora সম্পদ সেই মোর ভজন পূজন সেই মোর প্রাণ ধন সেই মোর ভরণ সেই মোর জীবনের জীবন সেই মোর রসনিধি সেই মোর বাঞ্ছা সিদ্ধি সেই মোর বেদের ধরম সেই ব্রত সেই তপ সেই মোর মন্ত্র জপ সেই মোর ধর্ম করম অনুকূল হবে বিধি পদে হইবে সিদ্ধি নিরখিব এ দুই নয়নে রূপ মাধুরী রাশি প্রাণ কুবলয় শশী প্রফুল্লিত হবে নিশিদিনে দুয়ায় দর্শন যহি গারলে জরলো দেহি দর্শন দেহি চিরদিন তাপিত জীবন রূপ কর দয়া দেহ মরে পদ ছায়া নরোত্তম লইল শরণ হয় অধম লইল শরণ
So the translation that's was posted on the website is a lot shorter,
Oh,
concise.
do you want to read it?
I think it's better.
Okay.
This is quite long and
Yeah.
a little difficult, I think. Okay, let me just find that out really quickly.
Make sure the mic is on.
So this is, so our line of gurus is called the Rupa Nuga Guru Varga, this whole line. Oh, sorry, I'm not gonna speak much, but just so you know. So this day of his disappearance is really significant for the devotees of Mahaprabhu. So Sri Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj explains Srila Narottam Das Thakur's prayers to Sri Rupa, which is what we just sang. Sri Rupa Manjari is considered to be the leader of all the Manjaris in the camp of Radharani. The Manjaris are younger than the Sakis and they have facility to enter into this type of service, whereas the older girlfriends of Radharani may not enter. So the Rupanuga Sampradaya means the opportunity to taste that highest quality of rasa produced by Radha and Govinda's confidential pastimes. Mahaprabhu recommended that this is the highest attainment ever possible for the soul. The Rupanuga Sampradaya, the soul can reach Madhura Rasa, then the camp of Radharani, and then that of Sri Rupa. So Srila Rupa Goswami's the leader of, I'm not going to say so much about that, I'm not going to, but what I'm saying is that Rupa Goswami is his nature is so kind and we can't even conceive of this kind of mercy. But those who are newcomers, they are also given this kind of entrance into some particular type of service. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given a description, a sketch of the confidential spiritual service in Madhura Rasa under the leadership of Rupa Goswami in his Rupanuga Bhajan Darpan. And Srila Narottam Das Thakur, who wrote this song, also understands the substantial characteristic of Rupanuga Bhajan so much so that he expresses this aspiration. When will my Gurudev Lokanath Goswami take me by the hand and connect me to Rupa, saying, "O Rupa, I am giving you this new young maidservant. Take her. And when will Gurudev give charge of me to Sri Rupa in this way?" Rupa's transaction is higher. The Manjari service means a higher plan and design, different dealings, and services unique within the camp of Radharani that are most confidential, that are generally not aspired for, even by other Sakis and their associates. Sri Rupa Manjari Pada more Sampada, say more Bhajana Pujan, say more Pranadana, say more Abharana, say more Jivana Jivan. In Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, the exclusive, concentrated attempt, the aspiration to be admitted and enter the camp of Sri Rupa is expressed with earnestness. We're not trying to put our brain in that, but we're hearing about such a divine plane of self-forgetful service that it is purifying our heart to hear about this. Exclusive earnestness to get admission into the camp of Sri Rupa is expressed. The characteristics of one's aspiration should be like this. Sri Rupa Manjari Pada Semor Sampada. I consider the holy feet of Sri Rupa Manjari to be my only wealth. I do not consider anything else to be wealth. Semor Bhajana Pujana. Sri Rupa Manjari's feet are the object of my bhajan and my pujan. That means my worship, my everything, my... Sri Rupa Manjari's feet are the...
This verse is such a cool verse here. My wealth is there in her feet. My worship and service is in her Saimuna Pranadhan. The gist of my life is there. And anything there is from her grace. Indeed, the very life of my life, if there is anything, is also from her, and I am for her.
Semor Pranadhan, her feet are the source of my life, my substance. Semor Abharan, her feet are my ornaments, my outer qualifications. Both my inner and outer existence are there. Semor Jivan Jivan, I consider her feet to be the very life of my life, the essence of my existence. Semor Rasa Nidhi, Semor Vanchasiti, Semor Vedaradaram. Semor Rasa Nidhi, her feet are the source of all my ecstatic aspirations, the ocean of my ecstatic joy. Semor Vanchasiti, the fulfillment of my inner aspiration, is at her feet. Semor Vedaradaram, The Vedas have a very strong position, a hold over religious society. But I consider the Vedas inspire me only to accept her feet as the real meaning of the Vedas. Say vrata, say tap, say more mantra jap, say more dharamakaram, say vrata. There is a fashion, especially in the female section of religious society, to accept various kinds of vows. A vow means a temporary commitment to a particular good action. So there are many. Savitri is famous for her vow of chastity, and by her chastity, she saved her husband from death. And Savitri, Sita, and many other ancient ladies exemplified high ideals, and modern women often take vows in their names. But Narottam Das Thakur is saying, I have no other formal vow than the vow to serve Sri Rupa's feet. This is all encompassing within transcendental understanding. All of this is coming to the position of the holy feet of Rupa Goswami. And this was completely told by Mahaprabhu. Whatever you aspire for in my service must come to Rupa. Say tapa. Men practice many penances to achieve their desired ends, but my only penance is for her feet. By accepting that, I consider that I have finished all penances. Say more mantra jap. Others engage themselves in japam, repetition of a particular spiritual sound for the attainment of some auspicious end. But my only engagement is in the service of Rupa's feet. That is my japam. Say more dharma karma. That is the purpose of my job. The service of Sri Rupa covers all possible phases of duty and activity, all possible engagements to discover or serve holy purposes. These are not whimsical statements. These are profound siddhanta. These are conclusions. And this was given by Mahaprabhu. Sri Rupa covers all possible phases of duty and activity, all possible engagements to discover or serve holy purposes. That is the conclusion. I concentrate all my activities only to achieve the service of her feet. Everything will be fulfilled by that service. It's just a little bit. Well, there's actually quite a bit more. Would you like to finish it? Oh, is it?
Yeah.
But it's so explanation. I felt like that. So,
I would probably just say, because there's a large variety of experience. One thing that's one thing that's a very unusual meditation in Gaudiya Vaishnavism is there is we're talking about trying to become Krishna conscious, or conscious of the source, or conscious of the infinite. But we're very forgetful. But there's one person who actually is conscious of the Lord, and it's the divine feminine, who's fully embodied by Srimati Radharani and all of her followers. And actually, they're the ones who are conscious of the Lord. And so they're saying all service energy, including the energy of Guru, is coming from them. And so it is the singular faith, actually, where there is a very refined approach to the divine masculine and the divine feminine, which is very, very unusual in the cosmology of theism. And to understand that there is mercy and grace and service actually coming from the person who is actually conscious of the Lord is also an unusual meditation. And so there's many layers of mystery, actually, you can say, in the practice of spiritual life, right? Because feminine energy by its nature is more hidden. And so that's why it was a huge controversy on the altars in India when Srimati Radharani was on the altar. Prior to that, she was not even her deity wasn't even worshipped. They said she's like an understood part of a sentence. Like, of course she's there, but she's hidden. And they said, no, you like, we'll worship. And that became like a huge topic. And so all of her followers are very mysterious. But the thing to understand is, that we're very forgetful. And so this idea of trying to like come into contact with the Lord is like, we're not, the whole idea of the graceful, merciful world is that almost like despite myself, some good fortune is coming, right? I am actually in like a pretty selfish state of looking out for myself, and there really are kind of emissaries, you could say, of the faithful world. That's what you can say, is there's emissaries. And so it's hopeful. It's a very deep day. I would just say we can just kind of offer our obeisances to it.
I'd like to just kind of finish a couple of things here, because we are followers of Rupa Goswami, and we can understand something that this is so high. It is as high as devotion herself. Devotion herself is the perfection of all. We cannot conceive of how self-forgetful, how much devotion is there. And so it is good from time to time to get some connection or some remembrance of such a holy thing. And it is so high and so beautiful, but there's nothing wrong with it. Whereas there's so many things that are, we don't talk about this in this world just because it's so nasty and rotten. You shouldn't talk about it in front of children. But there's nothing wrong. It's just that our consciousness is wrong. And so we're a little hesitant. So, but Narottam Das Thakur is actually expressing the aspiration of every Vaishnava, every follower of Mahaprabhu. And we should hear this from time to time. It is a very real thing. And Srila Guru Maharaj said, we don't want to be the third son of the goat. If a goat has 3 sons, but she can only feed 2 of them. So the third son dances around in front of the mother because he's not getting anything to eat. He says, we do not want this. We have to be firm that this aspiration will be understood gradually, and that we will be successful, not be the third son of the goat who doesn't get that nourishment. So there's some nishchaya, this determination must be there to understand, but these are high things again, but we have to have some determination to understand the purity of it, the sweetness of it, and the perfection of it in the deepest type of, as Rai was saying, cosmology. This is not some whimsical, sentimental nonsense. So we take this time to reacquaint, to remember something about the holy lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami and his divine followers. Taking this opportunity. Do you want to add something, Suresh? We didn't read the whole thing. It wasn't much longer, but
Read from here.
okay. We just
Okay. We just read without commentary and let this sit inside of us and
you might
do its will.
have to have your hold your.
Anukula have vidhi, sepade haive siddhi. I only pray to the controller who is at the root of the arrangements of the affairs in this world. Please connect me there, O absolute manager. May you grant my prayer that all my tendencies may go to attain her favor. Nido kibo edui nayane. And it will be so very intense, concrete as if I can see it with these eyes. It will not be vague, abstract, or imagination, but I want the most concrete realization by the grace of the absolute manager. Serupa madhuri rasi pran kuvalaya shashi. What sort of high-class beauty is there in her holy feet? I want to jump. Let my heart be a lotus. There are 2 classes of lotus, the white lotus from the sun, the red from the moon. The kuvalaya is a mixture of the 2. The luster of her body will feed me day and night as the life of my life, which is compared to a kuvalaya. The kuvalaya is fed and nourished by the luster of the moon, and her holy feet are the moon. and my very vitality is likened to the lotus. May the luster of her beauty maintain and nourish my heart of hearts. Prafulita habe nishidine, and the lotus of my heart will grow by that ray and dance. Okay, and someone can read 4, or I can read it, I guess. Tuya adarshanayahi. This is my prayer, but what is my present condition? My present condition is in the negative side, my mistress. My present condition is such that without having a sight of you, your grace, my heart will burn into ashes. That is my present position. Garole jarole dehi. This is just like the poison of a cobra, which produces pain in my heart. I've been bitten by a snake, and what is that snake? It is that I am not getting any direct contact with you, your grace. The serpent's poison has captured my heart, and I'm going to die. Chirodina tapita jivana. And this is not a sudden thing, but from the beginning I've been suffering this sort of pain of separation from such a beautiful and hopeful life of fulfillment. Haharupa korodaya dehomore padachaya narotama loi lo sharana. But I have now reached the extreme position, and for the last time I'm begging for your favor, otherwise I will be finished. This was composed by Narottam Thakur in praise of Srila Rupa Goswami. In this way, he has given us light of the higher quarter of bhajan life. This sampradaya is named as Rupanuga Sampradaya, and our Guru Parampara and all these things are adjusted according to that. He wrote many songs. They're of substantive firmament, very ecstatic, and of deep faith. Okay. Jai Narottam Das Thakur ki jai. Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, it's a bit longer than I estimated to do that, but we are reading chapter 7 of the Gita, and I think we had
7 here in the
we had quite a lot of discussion. I mean, the beginning, honestly, the beginning of this chapter is a lot to
Well,
take
I hope
in.
we're going to reread 7:7 because it's one of my favorite
We can read,
verses of
yeah,
all
that's
time.
it's actually what we stopped on. So, yeah, there's a lot here in terms of understanding reality. The name of this chapter is Jnana Vijnana Yoga. Jnana means knowledge. Vijnana means a knowledge that has understanding in it. There's one thing to know things. It's another thing to have a systematic realization of what it actually is. So that's Jnana is knowledge. Vijnana means realization or systematic understanding.
I feel
So,
like that word realization kind of means like it's landed a little bit. All of a sudden it's like left some like ephemeral world.
Well,
and
you
all
can
of a sudden
apply
it's
it.
starting to feel like concrete.
You can apply it to your existence. You can now slot things appropriately within your existence. That's called Vigyan. And he's talking about what reality is composed of, these different energies. And if you're not super familiar with it, it's like, what is that? So we spent a lot of time kind of sorting that out. So too bad for those of you that weren't there. Or just kidding.
Got a little aggressive on that sentence.
Just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. But it was a lot. It was a lot of discussion. So ultimately, we're understanding the different layers of energy: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, and how the world of our experience is related to that entire structure. And in the end, Krishna says, what it says in 7:7, nothing is superior to me. So Krishna is speaking as Bhagavan, reality, you could say infinity personified. All existence depends on me like gems strung on a thread. So this is the proper understanding in the end. You have to know that God is behind anything that exists. Literally nothing can exist without God. And that's very, very helpful to understand, because we have this thing in our head that we somehow think that there are things that are sustaining themselves without the energy of God. There is no other energy. The only thing that exists is the energy of God. So that helps to contextualize things properly. Okay, so we can read verse 7 and 8, and then kind of the beautiful poetry where Krishna says how to see him within the world.
It's actually a pretty short chapter.
Yep. Mata parataram nanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya Mayi sarvam idam prutam sutre mani ganaiva Dasoham apsu kaunteya Prabhasmi shashi suryaya Pranava sarva vedeshu Shabdake purusham vishu. All right, do you want to start, honey?
Oh, Arjun.
With the mic.
Oh, sorry.
Brief announcement. Now the microphones.
Sorry.
Those microphones are going to the live stream. So it's one source.
Oh,
So
wow.
if you don't speak in the microphone, they're not going to be able to.
Okay, very good. O Arjun, there is nothing superior to me. All existence depends on me, like gems strung on a thread. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water. I am the radiance of the sun and the moon. I am Om, the fundamental vibration in all the Vedas, and I am the sound in the ether, and I am the masculinity in men.
And I love this whole chapter. It's so cool.
So, hold on. This is important because Krishna does this a couple times in the Gita. And sometimes Arjuna is asking, sometimes he's just saying it. But he starts to express what that means when he's saying everything is strung on me like pearls on a thread. What does that mean? It means there's something absolutely unique about water. And when you drink it, it has this sort of non-taste taste. Okay, Krishna's saying, that thing, that taste, that specific, unimaginable experience that you now get to experience because you can drink water, see me in that. There's something absolutely precise and precisely beautiful about what that is. Can you see the divine character of that? See me within that, right? Like, these expressions are really wonderful. And pranava, it says that's the origin of the Veda, but pranava means the original vibration, the original sound, right? The original resonance, you can say, that populates reality. So when he's saying, I'm Om, I'm the radiance of the sun and the moon, there are all these things that are literally inconceivable, but then they exist, and so we just kind of take them all for granted. But they're all from the Lord.
Well, Om is the first sound.
Yeah.
And then it says the fundamental. Fundamental in that sense means like it's literally like
baseline.
the firmament, you could
Yeah.
almost say, of like all of this is coming from Om. What does that mean? All of it's coming from me.
Yeah.
Everything, right? Om is the first sound of the whole creation. So he's saying, I am that, which means like everything comes from me, right? I'm the sound in ether. It's an amazing kind of thing to say, right? Ether's finally coming back into vogue. It likes to kind of disappear and reappear. But ether's like the subtle substance that can enter your mind that's free of time, right? So like that's where you get these sentences like, oh, I was thinking of you. You must have been in the ethers or something like that. It's like saying like there's some subtle movement that's occurring, right? And he's saying, I am the sound that's moving within them. They say actually in this, that's why we're practicing mantra meditation, you can say, right? Because something very unusual actually occurs in these subtle stratospheres. And then what is the subtle thing that's occurring? The Lord is occurring, right, in these kind of things. There's some kind of divineness that's being pulled from everything in these verses.
Well, yeah, ether is back in vogue because of electromagnetics, basically, and there's a medium through which vibrations travel, and it's becoming clear. And that word in Sanskrit, I mean, there's different words for it, but in this verse it says shabda ke. Ke means the medium from which shabda transfers, and shabda means vibration. So there's vibration, and then there's the medium of vibration. And Krishna's saying, I'm both. I'm pranava, the original vibrations, and I'm shabda ke, which means the thing that the vibration travels through. Right? I mean, these are all like super subtle things. We're almost lucky to live in 2025 because if we lived in like 1600, it'd be really difficult to even translate these things. You just kind of go, I'm sound and I'm sound and I'm sound, but this is actually expressing something super precise. So anyways, it's quite beautiful.
In church, when I was a little girl, this is only 1 minute, but in church, I remember I was quite young, I think, but I was sitting in church and the priest is saying, in the beginning was the Word.
Yes.
And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And I'm like, well, what's the Word? But it's Om. It's Pranava Omkar.
Wow, that's really nice remembrance.
They say like the word is God, like God is the word, the first word.
Yeah, Om.
That's what she just
Yeah.
said.
No, he's saying the word God.
Yeah, the word God is the first word, and they say. But I just recently had this conversation with one like
Oh,
blogger, and actually.
Like the English word God was the
No.
first word?
he's wrong.
Originally it was like ancient, like Greek language, like kind of like this.
Greeks.
I don't know, like they don't know. Like,
Yeah.
there are a couple of versions.
Uh-huh, I see.
Like, theologians are still like searching for this, but isn't Krishna saying in Bhagavad-Gita that I'm Om out of all sound?
The verse we just read, I am Om, the fundamental vibration.
Yeah, so it's kind of like equal.
But
Yeah.
we shouldn't ever become fundamentalists with this stuff, because again, the tendency of the human mind is to then go, oh, he's the taste of water, he's not the taste of broccoli. You know what I mean? It's the point of this is every single thing that's in existence, start to see me within that. I'm the root of existence, period. Right? Like that's the point. And there's, of course, some beautiful things that he's highlighting. You know, the fragrance of the earth. I mean, we've all smelled that particular smell. I mean, like all these things are very, very beautiful in a certain way. But in the end, it's all, it's not just that. Like where you're like, Krishna's this word, he's not that word.
I mean, Om is like, I am the sound in the soundless vacuum. It's like, but it's also like, I am every sound.
Right. I mean, there's hierarchy within it, but in the end, this is coming after a verse which literally says, everything that exists is dependent upon me. Right? So this is like highlighting.
I just always see this particular chapter as anything that's kind of wonderful, that's pulling your interest, because these are like the highlights, right? Like we'll read it here. I'm the pure fragrance of the earth. You know, it's an amazing sentence. I'm the radiance of fire. I'm the lifespan of all beings. And in the ascetics, I'm the power to endure duality, such as cold and heat. Anything that's wonderful, you're going to get a glimmer of something that's coming from the Lord. Doesn't mean that he's not in any other moment. It's just something that's like, something that's astonishing you. Like there's something, the Lord is there. Something very wonderful and beautiful to appreciate is there. That's like, I don't know, it's a nice way to...
Yeah, very beautiful. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say the Pranava Omkar is, it is really the fundamental sound in the Veda also. It is an actual sound, A-U-M, like Aum, and then, but he's saying, that's me. If you are interested in why these yogis can make so much progress within, into the finer and finer levels of perception through that sound, that's because that sound is myself. So, he's referring to that as being something that's already known to exist, sort of thing.
That's nice. Okay, verse 9. Punyo gandha prativyam cha tejas chasmi vibhavasau jivanam sarva bhuteshu tapaschasmi tapasvishu bijam mam sarva bhutanam vidhi patha sanatanam buddhir buddhimatam tejas tejasvinamaham balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamusmi bharatarshava.
I am the pure fragrance of the earth. I am the radiance of fire. I am the lifespan of all beings, and in ascetics, I am the power to endure duality such as cold and heat. O Partha, know me as the eternal original cause of all life forms. I am the intelligence of the intelligent and the power of the powerful. O Arjuna, I am the strength of the strong, without selfishness and attachment, and I am the desire for procreation in the living beings, which does not contravene the universal principles of religion. Should we just go on? सर्वमिदं जगत् मोहितं न विजानाति मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम् दैवीयेष गुणमयि मम माया दुरात्यया मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते मयमेतं तरन्ति ते.
Furthermore, know that all things of the nature of goodness, passion, and ignorance are manifest from me alone. Nevertheless, I am not in them. They, subordinate to me, are in me. The entire world of living beings is deluded by the three modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can know me, the Supreme Lord, who am transcendental to these modes and immutable. My alluring trimodal illusory potency is practically insurmountable. However, those who take shelter in me can overcome this powerful obstacle.
Pro tip.
Mama Maya, this is mine. This illusion, she's serving me.
Namam dushkritino mudha
Prajante naradama
Mayaya pavrita jnana Asuram bhavamashitaha Chaturvidha bhajante mam Jana sukritino arjuna Arto jigyasurartarthi Jnani cha bharatashava. Can you hand me to Christian? 15 and 16.
Can you see the numbers on it?
Yeah.
Is it?
These four kinds of wrongdoers do not surrender unto me. Fruitive workers comparable to animals, fallen persons who have taken highest path, devotion but later reject it, considering it inadequate or worthless, those who know, or those whose knowledge covered by illusion, Maya, despite their scriptural study, they consider that only the form of Lord Narayana is worshipable. Did I say it right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Narana is worshipable, and they think that Lord Krishna, Lord Rama, and other factual forms are merely mortal. And the demonic impersonalists who dismember my form by their arrows or false logic resemble demons like Jarasadna.
Jarasandha, yeah.
Is everyone here?
Do you want me to read the next one?
No, that's just 15, 16. Oh, yeah.
16.
Sorry.
O Arjuna, best of Brahatas, four kinds of persons have the fortunate to worship me, the afflicted, the seeker of knowledge, the seeker of happiness, and the self-realized.
Okay.
Any questions about those two verses? It's just it's just different kinds of persons who will not approach the Lord. And then there are those who, by their circumstances or by their nature, will tend to approach the Lord.
What is Jarasadna?
Charasana.
What is Jarasadna?
Jarasandha was he was a demoniac person, a real, like a really selfish, mean, kind of person. And he, I'm so sorry. And he was chasing. Anyway, it's a very interesting story from the Srimad Bhagavatam, but it will take some time to tell the
Yeah,
story.
Jarasandha,
He's
he's
a
just
king.
a demonic person. You could
Yeah,
say it in
yeah.
a nutshell, but there's a
Yeah.
whole story.
There's a
around
whole
it.
story behind him, but yeah.
I like this where it says impersonalists dismember my form by their arrows of false logic. It's like there's kind of like there's just an atheistic kind of logical format, and it's offensive ultimately. Sorry. There's like a faithlessness that is kind of like and when it says false logic, I mean, like, the reason it's false logic is because there is actual evidence to the inverse. Let's just leave it like that. There is a supernatural world. We do not know everything that's occurring. At least we can stay like safely if we don't want to jump into like the woo-woo world of faith that like we don't understand what's going on and we're agnostic. But to say for sure there's nothing going on, that's actually like offensive. I'm just gonna say it at great risk to myself, but really the world is quite mysterious, wonderful, amazing, and full of, if you want to use the word, miracles. It really is. There are things that are there are so many layers of unexplained things, and it doesn't matter from the biggest of the big to the smallest of the small. So when it's saying it's false logic, it's kind of like this strange like faithfulness to a science that's kind of like a tepid 1% that's not even being honest enough to say that we don't know the other 99% of what's going on. So it's an extreme sentence, but that's what it's talking about, is this kind of false logical sort of mentality of just like, that's the way it is. And it's like, you know what? That's not actually being open-minded or curious. Do you know who the source of reality is? Maybe not. Am I curious on who, if that's possible? Yes. And then that's the beginning of the quest, you could say. So anyway, that's a little bit about Carson. Yeah.
I have a question. Fallen persons who take the highest path, devotion, but later reject it, considering it inadequate or worthless. So something that Prabhupada talks about in Gita as it is a lot is people who embark for one reason or another. You know, maybe they're looking for happiness, and then, you know, make some modicum of progress in the nature of goodness, and then life gets pretty easy, and then you're kind of just happy with the way life is, and you get satisfied in the position that you're at. You don't really feel much necessity to get to the highest ideal anymore. That feels kind of like an inevitable trap to me. What do you do about that?
I mean, go ahead, Ray.
I mean, Arjuna says this also.
Yeah.
In Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
But I mean, we read that. That's in chapter 6.
Yeah.
In this particular verse, the wording is nara adhama. Nara means person. Adhama means fallen. This parentheses is a little bit of a purport, which is actually ultimately coming from Saraswati Thakur. So he's referring to something that happens whenever someone embarks on a spiritual. It's not uncommon on any spiritual path, where a part of you, because it's this next verse is really important as well, because generally when you're seeking, something has come in your life. You either have some natural seeking of God, right? You're coming to God for one of these 4 reasons. You're afflicted. Means there's something about pain that makes you very sincere. Like you're actually honest for a moment. You know what I mean? Right? You're afflicted. And the Lord is merciful. So that type of person who actually begins an honest journey, they can receive actual grace from the Lord, something substantial, something progressive, right? Someone who's seeking knowledge. Well, if you're actually honest and you actually seek truth, you're ultimately going to arrive at the Lord, right? Someone who's seeking happiness. You don't even have to go through the intellect route. You can just go by feeling. But if you're seeking true bliss and joy, you're going to ultimately arrive at the Lord. And self-realized. When you actually understand that you're a soul, then you understand that your soul is in relation to the super soul. That's like innate. And then that relationship begins to become prominent in your life, right? So those kinds of people come to the Lord. But this Nara Adhama and this purport that's in the parentheses is referring to this thing. I don't know if anybody else has felt this, but it's a common feeling within life where you begin the spiritual path and then you feel like, what am I doing? And there's some part of your ego that goes like, this is not good. I'm not going to survive this, right? Like my ego. And then you're just like, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? And there's that thing where you are attracted to that, but at the same time, you can feel that like some big component of what you previously considered to be you is at risk. And of course, that's the nature of progress. Anyone who makes progression toward anything is going to have to leave some portion of themselves behind. That's the nature of progress. But that kind of thing where, something wells up within you, it could take the form of what you said, which is very, very common, where someone is in a state of being afflicted. They begin the path. Suddenly their mind is peaceful. Suddenly they're able to control their body and make progression within the world. They have a better job. They have all this stuff, and all of a sudden they feel comfortable, and they're kind of like, why did I need God again? I'm like good now. You know what I mean? And you're just kind of like, what, right? Or sometimes your position gets afflicted, or sometimes, by following the Lord, you might come into conflict with whatever the norms of the current society are. Like if you were in the 1700s, you might just like not want to wear a wig anymore or something, and everyone's going to be like, you're so weird, put the wig on, or whatever. Like, but and it's also today, right? We're all just conforming to something that we're not quite aware of, right? And sometimes you come into conflict with you, like, I don't want to be weird, or whatever it is, right? There's some point where you move forward and then you're like, ugh. Right? You're stepping back.
There's another scenario. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course.
No, another scenario is that we have a conception of what spiritual life is going to bring to us. Like, I thought I was going to be happy and my suffering was going to be stopped. And that's not really happening, so this is useless. But we don't look deeply enough into the real cause of our suffering and how to face those conditioned things within ourselves that are selfish and causing so much illusion and lying to ourselves all day long about how we're so right and we're a victim and everything's wrong and all this stuff. And then that doesn't happen. Like all of a sudden it's like, wait, I thought if I did this for a couple of years, this was all, I was just going to be happy. But they have this completely, and we're all going to face these things. When I was younger, a young woman, like I remember walking down the street when Sudarshan was a baby, and my mind was going blah, 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 and I thought, wait a minute, you put all your cards on the table and let's see what you're doing. And I was actually challenging my mind, like I felt like I was in a courtroom, and my mind was on trial. And I looked at it, nope, that doesn't make sense, nope, that comes to nothing in the end, and you have to really, actually challenge these tendencies in the mind to just go, well, no, I'm not, or whatever it's doing, so that you don't keep going. You need to apply higher intelligence and knowledge and tackle these things that are coming up, like impurities. When you're boiling butter to make ghee, all these impurities are coming up. They're bubbling up to the surface, all the impurities in butter. And it's like that. The process is bringing up all this crap that we believe that we didn't even know. And then we have to challenge that. And we can do it. You will be victorious.
Yeah.
Do you think that refers to kind of someone with slightly unfortunate kind of tendencies, you could say?
Yeah, I mean, this translation has a lot of purport in it, because the direct translation is
Super simple.
is pretty. I mean, for what he says, fruitive workers, the word that is used in Sanskrit is mudha. Mudha means like a fool, right? Like an absolute fool. Sometimes I felt that way when I was in college, but I mean, you're dealing with super high IQ people, but sometimes you talk to people and they're like, oh, I don't, there's no God, there's no way there's God. And I'm like, are you okay? Huh? Oh, sorry. I mean, so there's some idea, but this idea of a fruitive worker, I mean, it's there's a purport in that that's saying this is foolish, right? A fruitive worker means I'm going to spend my time accumulating sand on the seashore. You know what I mean? And it's just dude, there's a big wave coming. You see that? It's called death. Can you see it? And you see how it got closer? If you're not getting that, you're not too bright. You know what I mean? At some point, you've got to and it doesn't mean that you have low IQ. I mean, there's plenty of high IQ people that are just like, ah! It's just like, dude, your death is like a couple years from now. Do you get that? Like, so there's some idea of like, when you make that the primary idea of your life, you're just a mudha. Like, you actually don't have like a fortunate intelligence where you're not, understanding what's actually valuable in your existence.
Like an ass, you put the carrot there and he's like,
Exactly.
oh yeah, oh yeah, I'm gonna get that.
Yeah.
Yep. I can't think of everything else.
It's just exactly true. Okay.
I'm good at imitating
All right. All right, 17. Tesham jnani nitya yukta eka bhaktir vishishyate priyo hi jnanino tyatham aham sacha mama priya udara sarva evaite jnani tvatmaiva me matam asthita sahi yuktatma mamevanutamam gatim.
Of these four types of devotees, best is the self-realized person who is my pure devotee, and whose consciousness is fully absorbed in me. For I, Syamasundara, am very dear to him, and he is dear to me. Certainly they are all noble souls, dear to me, yet the spiritually self-realized soul is as beloved to me as my own self, for he has given his heart to me as his only shelter and ultimate goal of life.
Bahunam janmanamante Gyanavan mam prapadyate Vasudeva sarvamiti Samahatma sudullava Kamaistair hritagyana Prapadyante nyadevata Tam niyamam asthaya Prakritya niyata svaya Yo yam tanum bhakta Shraddhayarchitum ichhati Tasya chalam shraddham Tameva vidadhamyaham.
Is that you?
Oh, is it? Oh, it's my turn. Sorry. After many births, the enlightened soul, blessed with devotional association, realizes that everything is of the nature of and subordinate to Vasudeva. And thus he surrenders unto me. Such a great soul is very rare. Persons misled by worldly desires, being governed by their own natures, worship other godly personalities like the sun god and many demigods, adopting the corresponding rituals to attain their objectives. So he's saying, Krishna's saying, someone who actually understands the spiritual nature of everything and the spiritual nature of themselves, they are in relationship with me. But people who are within the world, they're going to just have whatever kind of shortcut they can find to try to attain their worldly desires, right? And if that means like praying to some elemental gods or whatever it might be, you're really just having this transactional relationship with reality where you're kind of looking around for who can give me the thing that I want in my head, that I want within this world. And that's the level of faith that they have. So, there's a whole nother book called Krishna Samhita by Bhaktivinoda Thakur where he's talking about these different levels of faith and how, faith in modern day English basically means belief, and not just belief, but it's almost taken like a pejorative tone where it means like a really tenuous belief. But Shraddha in Sanskrit, which means faith, it actually means to the extent that you actually have a real knowledge of reality. So Shraddha, it means faith, but faith doesn't have the implication that it has in our current society. Faith actually means a touch of reality. When you actually have some foothold within reality, then you have some faith in that. So you might have a faith, for example, that there's something like a person of small faith, they're still going to have some idea, hey, something's bigger than this, right? And even if they just want stuff, they're going to start praying to something within this bigger thing and be like, hey, can you give me that, right? So that's a particular level of faith. It's better than nothing, right? You're going to have some level of faith. Something's bigger, and something else is, going to be interacting with me in terms of me getting what I want. That's a particular level of faith, and then the level of faith grows and grows and grows. And all those things are laid out in terms of all the levels of faith, and you can start to see different ways of living and different belief systems in terms of their level of faith and all those kinds of things. But that's all leading to 21, which is the one I was going to read. I thought it was next. But according to a person's desire, as his faith grows to worship a particular demigod, I, as the super soul in his heart, make his faith strong in that demigod, representing a form of me. So what Krishna is saying is, whatever faith level you have, I'm going to support that. Even if your desire is way off, if you're just starting to move along the faith ladder, which another way of saying that in this Sanskritic context means the ladder of actual connection with reality in a conscious plane, right? I'm going to support that.
I mean, that kind of goes back to verse 16. You were talking about like a transactional relationship. It seems like 3 of the 4 persons that come to Krishna are looking for a transactional relationship of some kind. So is that just like Krishna's mercy that like we can have a relationship at all? Like how does that work? I've seen happiness translated as a seeker of happiness. I've seen that translated as a seeker of wealth as well.
So in
16.
Yeah,
right. Like so you're coming to Krishna saying like, I'm in pain, take this away and I'll worship you. Give me happiness, I'll worship you. Give me knowledge, I'll worship you.
Yeah. So
I was gonna say, because it cannot be like I'm suffering, I worship you. It can be like I throw myself towards you, right? Depends on the kind of suffering and the quality of the offering, right? So
I mean, the wording in Sanskrit it's a difficult word to translate. I find this so interesting because we're always approximating the meaning of this, but there is a word in Sanskrit which is most often translated as happiness, which is sukha. But this wording is artha arti, and artha is often refers to work actually, or it refers to development. But artha arti means the development of, or the development of development, which you could say maybe it means satisfaction, but it means a person who's actually seeking what the point of all this is, but in terms of feeling, right? Because the culmination of everything you're doing, if you're honest with yourself, is that you don't actually want wealth or 3 cars in your garage or whatever it is. You want a feeling of satisfaction. You want a feeling of fulfillment, like I did what I'm supposed to, or I was successful, or whatever. So artha also, you could translate it as success, maybe. The development of development is ultimately success.
And that is what you're looking
but what most people, when you talk to a rich person, ultimately, they're just going to be like, I'm happy, right? Because it was like, that's kind of like their justification of everything they did, right? Because at some point, you're just actually seeking happiness.
Right. That's what I was gonna, like the 3 cars in the garage, like you're looking for that, you're just not gonna
Right.
get it.
You've kind of bought into some, narrative that's explicitly and implicitly in the current of the consciousness of this society that basically said, if you have that, you're going to be like pretty happy, and so you're just kind of going and doing it because you're seeking happiness, really.
That's very clear.
Yeah.
now I can see why it took so long to get through 7 verses.
Well, I mean, these words are they're very rich, they're expressing something that's like deep.
We're gonna be like right through. I was like, wow, I don't remember this chapter.
Yeah, we are doing
Okay,
good.
20. We're
Okay,
at
22.
Sataya.
Sataya Shraddhaya Yuktas Tasya Radhanam Ihate Labhate Cha Tata Kamam Mayaiva Vihitan Hitan Andavatu Phalam Tesham Tadbhavatyalpamedhasam Devan Deva Yajo Yanti Madbhakta Yanti Mamapi.
And I think the microphone.
His faith is nourished by me. His faith nourished by me, such a devotee continues worshipping the deity of that demigod and attains all his desired objects from that deity. Again, this happens by my sanction alone, since I am the supersoul situated within the heart of the demigod too. But the fruit obtained by those unwise worshippers of the demigods is temporary. They reach the gods they worship, but my devotees come to me.
And what's interesting is that, this is said multiple times in the Gita, that if you really, really want something and you keep praying and working toward it, you're gonna get it, right? So, that's just constantly said. Maybe in this life, maybe in the next. You know what I mean? Like you might just be born and be Michael Jordan and you're 6'6" and you can jump 42 inches or whatever, you know what I mean? And like, you just popped into the world being that freak, right? It's like, you worked for that. Like you did. But what happens? You have like 20 years of fame and now you're old and drinking alcohol every day and kind of going like, well, what did I do? Like, you know what I mean? Like you got what you wanted, but like, what did it really do for you? So Krishna's saying, like, that's not really wise. You're just going to get your thing. It's going to be some little temporary thing. And then, right, you just got some temporary object that you strived after. But if you connect to the Lord, then you connect into infinity.
And it's not just the striving in this life. It's something from the past. It's just making, like it's a blip. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's like a bubble in the ocean. Like Michelangelo. What is Michelangelo? It's just a phenomenon animated by a soul, and then boop, it's gone, and nobody knows where that soul went after that. It's like some kind of art, there's some kind of thing that he's done in the past, and then he gets to be this like super guy on Earth planet in the medieval times, and then he's gone. It's over. Just a little
and the mystery
bubble.
is that same thing, when done as a service to the Lord, is meaningful. Right? It's like it has to have a relationship with the infinite. Okay, 24. Avyaktam vyaktam apannam manyante mam abuddhaya param bhavam ajananto mamavyayam anutamam naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrita mudhoyam na vijanati loko mamajam avyayam vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu veda na kashana.
My eternal, super excellent nature, my form, qualities, activities, and pastimes are all transcendental. But unwise persons cannot know the truth, and they think the formless Brahman took birth in Vasudev's cell as an ordinary human being. By my sweet will, remaining concealed by my own potency, I am not manifest to anyone and everyone. So the foolish cannot know me, the son of Vasudeva, unborn and ever existent in my divine Shyamasundar form of beautiful feature like a blackish rain cloud. O Arjuna, I know all living beings of the past, present, and future, but no one can know me in truth.
Wow. Intense.
I have a question. It says in 24, unwise persons cannot know the truth. And in 25, it says, the foolish cannot know me. And I'm just wondering, is that saying that the unwise persons are damned to not ever know the truth and the foolish are damned to never know me? Because I just was kind of wondering that. And then 26 kind of really threw me off. But that no one can know me in truth. I wonder what that would be my follow-up question. What is the meaning of that, of 26?
These are really good questions. It's, I mean, you go ahead too. But I was just, there's hope springs eternal. There are always agents of the Lord who are coming to the world and wandering around giving good fortune. And that's called a gyata sukriti. A gyata means you don't know. You don't know it happened. Like an unconscious man is helped by a doctor and he doesn't even know that's happening. And then when he starts to come to consciousness, he can participate in his own recovery. So this is always happening. And really very powerful spiritual progress is lit. Like a candle will light another candle. That fire must come from fire. So the faith of a great soul can affect anyone. But he's saying as long as their consciousness is in this very low condition, then they're not going to know me as long as that's going on. What was the one that really threw you?
No one can know me in truth.
Yes.
No one can know me in truth.
Thank you. That is really clarifying.
He's saying that no one can know me in terms of material things. If you're trying to look at the Lord and analyze everything, and then you're going to wrap your head around the infinite, that's not going to happen. But to know the Lord really is to come into a loving relationship with him. And how much he's reciprocating with that, that's impossible to conceive of. So, but in terms of just thinking, well, he's saying I know everyone, past, present, and future, every living being. But no one can just go on, I understand everything about God. That's not possible on that level. But he can become known to anyone he wishes, but not in that kind of analysis. That, the way, like I know all about God, that's like, that's a surefire example of you not knowing much about God at all.
So in other words, would it be correct to say that no one can know God the way God knows us?
I have to say, there's a really nice sentence. There's a very famous conversation that happens with Srila Sridhar Maharaj, where he said, if the infinite is infinite, then how can the finite know the infinite? Okay? Like, it's a great question. How can we, the finite, know the infinite? And this became like a very famous conversation because sometimes when these like gravitational pulls, like everyone's attention is grabbed.
This is in a major assembly.
Yeah.
So this is not like, and this guy, whoever asked that question is a brilliant guy, because that is a brilliant condensing of the actual question. If we're finite, how can we know the infinite?
And then Srila Sridhar Maharaj's very famous answer, he goes, the infinite is not infinite if he cannot reveal himself to the finite. So it's this very soothing answer for this kind of question that comes. And I mean, another aspect you can say, no one can know me in full, means Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he refers to the Lord as the supreme autocrat many times. And autocrat means like, when Krishna is saying like, everything comes from me, the demigods come from me, your faith in those demigods comes from me, the stuff that you get comes from me. It's like, he's saying, I am like the root cause of all causes. Anything that's wonderful in the universe has come from me. It's like, it's very, audacious to be like, and I know what his exact will is and why. It's like, so Srila Sridhar Maharaj uses this word, he goes, he's for himself and by himself. Meaning like, that wave is coming from him. And that's what super subjective consciousness means ultimately, is that we're the object for the subject that is happening. And for the ego, that's a very painful kind of like, oh, I thought I was the master and center of everything. And for the spirit, it's very joyous. It goes, oh, such a lava flow of experience is rushing at all moments, and I can participate in that. So this idea of for himself and by himself is a very profound aspect of like divinity, actually, you can say, right? And I want to try and, huh?
Well, what else would reality be for? Something else? Like there isn't anything else.
Yeah, that's true. And then, what was the other thing? No, it was, there was actually one just quick thing, I just to kind of add on to, oh yeah, okay. This question of like, are people forever damned, happens to be something that I kind of, for whatever reason, was very compelled by when I was younger. And specifically, I grew up without any TV, period. So when I saw TV, it was very shocking as a child because I grew up homeschooled. And I remember I was traveling and we stayed in a hotel in the olden days where you changed the channel on like this like dial. And there was this very arresting moment of the cameras looking down at these two little kids and they're responding. And I don't even know what the show is, but the scene struck me. And he goes, "Where do bad kids go?" And they go, "To a lake of fire forever." And I was like, to a lake of fire forever? Like, it's, you know, and then like there's a Nirvana song that came later. It's like, where do bad folks go when they die? They go to a place, you know, it's like, so I'm like, okay, there's this idea of like forever burning, you know.
It's so nasty.
And then like, you know, and it comes to kind of a fundamental question, which is like, you know, for example, if you're not saved, you're going to this place ad infinitum, even though he's the most merciful person. And so for me, like, I very much was like, okay, I'm very curious about this. Like, how could that be that, like, we're hearing that the source of everything's all merciful, and then you're going to hell forever if you can't take his grace in a particular moment as you're wandering through infinity. And so that was kind of a thing that I, you know, really wanted. And I was like, who is this fallen angel? Who's Lucifer? Who are these? What is this concept of like darkness, so to speak? And the Vedic cosmology does not have a vying energy with him that's going to take us down forever. Okay? And in fact, there's some very interesting discussions, even within like high levels of Christianity, that are saying can go even on this is a middle planet according to the Vedas. So there's heaven and hell in this planet, and it's pretty clear. It's not like you gotta dig too hard to like. So there's a lot of conscious, and then also like because you're surfing the world of consciousness, externally it can look very nice. You can suffer like crazy. Externally it can look so rustic and simple. Can be very peaceful. All the nuances are possible. But then ultimately they're saying it's like that sentence, like this too shall pass, right? So ultimately Vaishnavism is inherently and deeply optimistic and fully faithful that not only are his emissaries full of mercy, but actually that the Lord himself, that Mahaprabhu, one expression that is said about him from Srila Sridhar Maharaj is, he is infinity in distribution, which is a very unusual kind of expression about divinity, right? Like, not only is he for himself and by himself, but his very nature is extending himself, right? That's a nature of divinity. So it's a very temporary kind of thing where it's like, okay, this person will never understand me. That is not in the Vedas. There's no permanent space. Actually, everything's in motion. So anyways, I hope that's helpful. I really did.
Okay, I want to briefly mention though, because ultimately we're translating Sanskrit, and again, this Sanskrit is not super complex. There's some words that are added in there, but avyaktam vyaktam apannam means manyate mam abuddhaya. Manyate mam means these people think about me, abuddhaya. These people who think this about me are unwise. They don't have buddha. They don't have enlightenment. They're unenlightened. What do they think that's unenlightened? Avyaktam vyaktam apannam. The formless took a form. So what Krishna is directly addressing is people who think that formlessness is at the basis of form. Krishna is saying, form is at the basis, and formlessness or the lack of form, the negativity comes from the positive in the end, right? Form, something doesn't come from nothing, right? The only place where a conception of nothing can exist is in something, right? Essentially. So what Krishna's saying is, those people who think the formless took a form and I am that form, Krishna is saying, because a lot of people say, oh yeah, Krishna is just a manifestation of Brahman. He's a manifestation of the formless, right? Krishna is directly saying, those people who think the formless took a form, they're abuddhaya, they're unwise. That's what that means. I mean, it's basically saying the unwise cannot know me, but that's not actually what it says. It's saying those people who think the formless took a form, they think that about me, they're unwise, right? And but he's saying, like, naham prakasha sarvasya, everyone can't see me, right? Not everyone can perceive me. It means God can be on this planet, and not everyone can perceive me. Why? I'm hidden by my Maya potency, right? For those who can see, they can see, but for those who can't, they can't. Yeah. It's like, how could Jesus be a manifestation of divinity, and people right next to him can't see it? Yeah. They're just looking at him like, dude, we got to kill this guy, right? Like, what is that? Krishna's saying, Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavrita. I'm hidden, right? And the foolish will not know me, that I am the divine form. I'm the divine taken form within this world. Like, I am that, but they can't know that. And then the next one of 6 was like, no one can know me in truth. This is referring back to the very beginning of this chapter, because Krishna went through the 3 different potencies, right? There's a potency called Bahiranga Shakti, which means the external potency, means the potency by which senses perceive their objects. The fact that we can have a sense and we can see something with that sense, that's called the external potency. Then there is the consciousness that can perceive all these external potencies. That's called Tatashta Shakti, or Jiva, means the soul, means us. Okay? Then there's the higher potency, which is, this is why this took so long. That's right, right?
It's all rushing back.
There's a higher potency called Chit Shakti. And the soul is either in the external potency or in the higher potency. That's where the soul has its individuality and that consciousness. But what he's saying is, I know all the souls. I know all the souls, and I'm the master of time. Like, I know everyone. But that tatashta potency, that conscious potency of the soul, cannot know the supreme potency unless it's granted. That's what that means. It doesn't mean like you just can't. It just means like that you are of a lower stuff, so to speak, and you don't have control or access or dominion or even entrance. You ain't gonna kick that door down from the existential plane that you're in. So, if that's helpful.
Very helpful. I mean, that's like that conversation of Gomraj with that disciple. It's such a nice, like, the infinite is not infinite if he cannot reveal himself.
All right, I think we're.
You guys, there's like 3 verses.
All right, we have 4 verses left. It's 8:30. Okay, Jai Shri Krishna. Ichchadvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa yesham tvanta gatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam vridha vrata jara marana mokshaya mamashritya yatanti te brahma tad vidu kritsnam adhyatmam karma chakhilam. All right. And who's reading? Did I just read?
O Arjuna, chastiser of the enemy, at the manifestation of the universe, all beings become deluded by duality based on likes and dislikes. But the performers of virtuous deeds are purified of all sin by the fortune of association with my pure devotee. Thus freed from the illusion of duality, they worship me with firm resolve. Those who strive for freedom from the world of disease and death, placing their trust and devotion in me, they know Brahman, they know the soul, and they know karma, the action that binds the soul again and again to this mundane plane of suffering.
Okay, so this concept in 27, this is something that's going to be mentioned multiple times in the Gita, sometimes called Raga Dvesha. In this way it's called Dvandva Mohina. Moha means like bewilderment is a good delusion, bewilderment, that kind of thing. But it's very important to understand this point. Raga Dvesha is another way. It means the two ways that you have of interacting with reality, and they're very unreliable. And this fundamental bifurcation within ourselves, where we just place an I like this and I don't like that on everything within our environment, that's the cause of the binding. Now you're afraid of the stuff you don't like, now you're wanting the stuff you do like, and now you're interacting with reality in a completely different way. So this fundamental like and dislike thing is the cause of like a giant tower of illusion that gets built on top of it. Okay, that's just a key point. Okay, verse 30. Sadhi bhutadi daivam mam sadhi yagyam chaye vidu pranayana kale pichamam devidur yukta chetasam iti Shri Mahabharate Satasahasryang Sanghitayang Vayasikyam Bhishma Parvani Srimad Bhagavad-Gita Supanishatsu Brahma Vidyayang Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Sangvade Jnana Vijnana Yogo Nama Saptamo Dhaya. All right, verse 30.
And those who know me in relation to the worldly plane, the celestial plane, the plane of sacrifice, the persons, their consciousness absorbed in me, know me even at the time of death. Afflicted in the face of fear, fearful death, they do not forget me. End of chapter 7, knowledge of realization of the Supreme from conversation of Sri Krishna and Arjuna. I can't say that.
You're doing good. You're doing Srimad Bhagavad-Gita Upanishad. You got this.
Bhagavad-Gita Upsad, the yoga scripture of transcendental knowledge in Bhishma Prava of Sri Mahabharata, the holy scripture revealed by Srila Vyasadeva in 100 years, 100,000 years. 100,000 verses.
Okay. Thank you, Maya. Yes, Saptamo means 7. It means it's the end of chapter 7. So that last is that Iti Shri Mahabharate. That's beginning that's what that last part. Yeah, that's it. Okay, awesome guys. Jai chapter 7 ki jai. Jai Shri Krishna Arjuna ki jai. Jai Kurukshetra Dham ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad-Gita Upanishad ki jai. Jai Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai. And all the people worshipping Gita tonight ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Rabba Mahamahotsava ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Bo. All right, Jai Dev. We'll do a short Hari Haraya. That means, yep.
Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah. Hari Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah.
Madhusudana.
Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Go Premanande, Hari Bol. Jai Mahaprasadam ki
Jai, all online devotees, ki jai. Good night, Dandavat.